The stone is smooth. I looked down when the amber went out, and the stone where the mark had been is smooth. Not partially smooth, not the smoothed and prepared texture of the fitting geometry we have been working with for days. Smooth the way coastal stone is smooth after years of water and weather. Natural, undifferentiated, no evidence of preparation or incision or guidelines or amber illumination. The fitting is gone. I say that carefully because I want to be precise about what I mean. The physical indentations of the guidelines, the arc geometry, the center mass point, the incisions that were present in the stone surface and that we have photographed and measured and documented across multiple sessions are not present. The consequence mark that completed itself 17 minutes ago, that we watched form across 7 11-second cycles, that filled with amber light and held steady while Marin stepped back from the third position. That mark is not in the stone. The stone is blank. I crouch down and run my hand across the surface where the fitting was. The stone is not warm. It is not different in texture from the surrounding shelf. My hand finds nothing. No residual incision, no trace of the guide arc geometry in the stone's grain, no indication that this section of rock was ever anything other than what it appears to be now. I photograph the surface. I will compare it against the earlier photographs. I already know what the comparison will show. Hannah is still standing on the north side of the fitting location. She has not moved since the second pulse. She is looking at the blank stone where the mark was. I ask her if she can still see it. She says, no. I ask if she read it before the amber went out. She says, yes. I ask her to tell me what it said. She does not answer immediately. She is looking at the stone the way she looks at something she is deciding how to describe, the pause that precedes language when language will be inadequate. She says, give me a moment. The stone interval is still running. I can feel it through the soles of my boots, the base 11-second count, present and steady in the rock beneath us. The recognition harmonic is gone. The third frequency that entered when Marin occupied the third position is gone. The base interval runs alone now, the same rhythm it has been running since the alignment-triggered state began in episode 68, the same rhythm that underlies the entire network. The site is still active. The stone is blank. Marin is standing at the edge of the shelf, back where she was before she stepped into the third position. The brief personal quality that had been on her face when the mark completed, that duration of recognition, is not there anymore. She has returned to the procedural expression that is her ordinary state. She is looking at the blank stone with the same attention she gives to documents and charts. I ask her if this is what she expected. She says, the record went somewhere. That part I expected. She pauses. What she read, that part I wasn't certain of. I ask if she knows what the statement said. She looks at Hannah, not at me. She says, that's hers to give. Hannah crouches at the blank stone, not examining it. She has accepted that there is nothing to examine. She is crouching the way people crouch when they are thinking and need to be at a different level. She has her notepad and she is writing something, slowly, choosing words rather than transcribing. She says without looking up, the syntax section has been building a grammatical structure for 2 days. You have my notes on all of it. The 3 convergence mark means confirmed. The cumulative sequence before it describes a condition and a relation. She is still writing. She says, the statement describes what listeners are. I hold very still. She says, not metaphorically, structurally, what they are in the system, what the condition is. She looks at what she has written. The first part I can translate approximately. The second part I cannot. There is no equivalent in the vocabulary I have. I wait. She stands up and holds the notepad so I can read what she wrote. The first line reads, the signal does not pass between them, it returns through them. The second line reads, I look at the first line, I read it again. The signal does not pass between them, it returns through them. The signal we have been tracking for 2 full seasons. The pulse the investigators carry. The condition we confirmed at the accumulation site. The thing the archive built itself around. Does not transmit from one listener to another. It does not move through the network from source to recipient. It returns. It comes back to itself through the investigators. They are not nodes in a transmission chain. They are the medium through which the signal completes a circuit. I try to understand what that means for everything we have documented, and I cannot hold the full implication at once. I write it down exactly as Hannah has it, and I write first pass reading only. Do not treat as complete interpretation until cross-referenced against full syntax documentation. I look at the second line. I ask Hannah what the untranslatable portion describes. She says, it describes what happens when the return completes, when the circuit closes. She looks at the stone. I have 2 marks that contribute to that meaning, and they do not have a common referent in the vocabulary I have built from the existing marks. I cannot say what it describes without a referent. I ask if she can describe the 2 marks that contribute to it. She says, one describes a state that predates the system, something that was already present when the system began accumulating, a condition before the condition. She pauses. The other describes a result, something that becomes true when the first state and the current investigation converge, a condition before the condition, a state that predates the system. I think about watch number 1, the first receipt found rather than issued, the first listener who existed before the network did, whose signal the network grew around. The accumulation site record book's second entry. The first listener has not left the system. They are still accumulating. I write, untranslatable second portion, pre-system condition plus investigation convergence equals result. Possible relation to first listener, do not confirm. I underline do not confirm. The stone interval runs beneath us. 11 seconds. Steady. I look at the organized syntax section on the left side of the face. The marks Hannah has been working for 2 days. The sentence that is now complete. The consequence mark written and withdrawn. The record made. The existing marks are still present. They will not vanish. They were always present. Only the consequence mark was temporary. Hannah is at the syntax section now, running through her documentation against the original marks with the full sequence finally available to her. The consequence mark is gone, but she read it and she has its meaning in her notes, approximate as it is, and now she can work backward through the existing marks with the ending understood. She says while working, the untranslatable portion, the result, I want to be careful about this. She marks something in her notes. It does not describe something that will happen. It describes something that is the case when the conditions are met, like the confirmed mark, not future tense. Present tense, a state of being, not an event. Present tense, not a promise or a prediction. A statement about what is true when the circuit closes. I think about the assessment pause. The system records who is present when it checks. I think about being recorded as present. I think about the offshore structure confirming that record. I think about the consequence mark saying, this is true, and then withdrawing into the system. The record went somewhere. I ask Hannah, if the record is elsewhere in the system, where does it go? She looks at me. She says, where all the records go. She means the accumulation site, the primary grid, the reference point the entire network is oriented around, the place the founding document sat until we read it, the place where the record book wrote Case 8, pending at the end of Season 3. The case is still pending. The consequence mark confirmed a condition. The record of that confirmation is now in the accumulation site's record book. We have not been back to the accumulation site since the end of Season 3. I look at Marin. She has been listening to this exchange from the edge of the shelf. She is still looking at the blank stone where the fitting was. I ask her, is there an entry in the record book now? She says, there will be when you read it. The interval runs, 11 seconds. I look at the blank stone. I look at the syntax section. I look at Hannah's notepad. I look at the coast to the northwest, toward the headland above the tidal shelf, toward the accumulation site built into the cliff face, from the same stone as the shelf below it. We need to go back. Not because the investigation requires it, because the system just made a record of what we are. And that record is sitting in a book, and the book is still writing. And Case 8 is pending, and it has been pending since the end of Season 3. And the record that was just made is the record that will close it. Hannah is already putting her chart kit away. I pick up the canvas bag with the second key inside, the key that was altered by the offshore structure, the key that is one half of a pair that was made before the archive existed, the key whose twin is somewhere in the Accumulation Site drawer or returned to the system in 1931 by O'Connor, or in the hands of someone whose identity is the engine of this entire season. I put my hand in my jacket pocket where key 47 is. The key is warm. It has not been warm before. I have carried this key for 2 years and 2 seasons, and it has been the temperature of a metal object in a jacket pocket, which is to say it has been the temperature of the air around it, which is to say it has been unremarkable. It is warm now, not hot, not uncomfortable, warm the way a stone is warm when it has been sitting in sunlight, except the sky has been overcast since we arrived on the shelf this morning. The key is warm because the system just confirmed a condition. I take it out and hold it, warm in my palm. The same brass key I have carried since episode 7. The stamped tidal shelf mark on the inner shaft catching the flat light of the overcast. I look at it. Marin says, "We should leave before the tide." I put the key back in my pocket. The interval runs. We walk back to the launch.